initial discovery.
By heavens, Thompson, I have discovered an empire.
We marvel at the beauty looking down upon Penns Valley.
This is the perfect spot. I mean, the views are amazing out there.
Complete with natural wonders.
We're one of 4 in the country that go by boat, so that's pretty awesome.
And traditions that are generations old.
2,500 families living here all week is a big city within a town, Center Hall, for that week.
This is your town, Center Hall.
And welcome to your town, Center Hall. Again, we are here at Penns Cave, one of the many features of Center Hall in the Center Hall area. Of course, all summer long, we've been traveling different towns throughout the region, featuring the special people and places in our communities.
We're going to have much more about Penns Cave and the wildlife park in just a bit, but first we want to take a step back in time and learn about Center Hall's history.
In 1764, Captain James Potter came through this area, and he stood on top of the Mount Nittany and looked out over the valley and said, "By heavens, Thompson, I have discovered an empire."
About 10 years later, Potter Township got its start, embracing all of Penns Valley. At that time, 3 forts were built in the valley, but before the settlers could move in, Native Americans ruled the land.
There was Indians in the area, so within the next year they had an Indian massacre.
We fast forward a little more than 70 years now to 1846. Henry Whitmer built the first improvement in Center Hall, a large building with a number of purposes, from hotel to store, even post office.
At that time there would have been stagecoaches going through the area. It would be the main route from Bellefonte to Lewistown, and also the main route from Bellefonte to Lewisburg. So there were stagecoaches, so that would be the reason for having a hotel in that area that early.
An interesting fact, the Center Reporter, the newspaper established in the area in 1827, would publish 2 pages, English on one side and German on the other. But you may ask, how did Center Hall get its name?
Center Hall got its name from being in the center of Penns Valley. Kind of to the east and to the west of where it is all Penns Valley. And I think a lot of people don't realize that Penns Valley extends up through Boalsburg and up through that area to the county line.
And have you ever wondered why center is spelled with an R-E instead of an E-R? Well, it comes from an Old English spelling. An article published in April 29, 1926 in the edition of the Center Reporter partially explains why. It says in part, the Post Office Department is spelling the name of our town C-E-N-T-R-E instead of C-E-N-T-E-R, going on to say Uncle Sam has at last learned how to spell because we have been spelling it the right way, the way all others have been spelling it since the village was founded in 1846.
And it's the same spelling situation here in Center County. Center is spelled the Old English way as opposed to C-E-N-T-E-R. Enough for the spelling bee. As we mentioned, we are live from Penns Cave here at Center Hall. It is quite the attraction here. Draws people from all over.
We're going to take a step back in time centuries ago when the Seneca Indians, who were native to the Center region, discovered this natural landmark now known as Penns Cave. It opened to the public back in 1885. We start our journey walking down 48 steps leading to the cavern's entrance. It's a noticeable temperature change. Year-round, it's 52 degrees inside the cave, so if you're sensitive to the colds, you might want to bring a jacket. And we're about ready to catch our ride.
We're one of 4 in the country that go by boat, so that's pretty awesome. Like, not many people can experience to go into a cave, let alone ride on a boat through a cave.
Once we leave the dock, we enter into total darkness, being pushed along by the boat's electric motor, putting our trust in Matt, the tour guide and captain, as he tells us about the cave.
You can expect a lot of information. All the guides are very well educated. We all read up on our material. Anytime there's a new fact or a speleologist come up with a new thing, like, we're told about it and we're on it.
Matt really is a wealth of information, not only giving us facts, but being our captain and pointing things out with a spotlight. You got to remember here, we're in total darkness until the lights come on. And it really is spectacular, whether you're looking at the Statue of Liberty, also known as the Leaning Tower of Pisa, or the Nittany Lion himself. And depending on the time of year, there's an extra part to the tour. You get to drift from the cave and venture outside onto Lake Nittany. You'll probably see some wildlife too. Ducks, geese, deer, maybe a groundhog. A quick circle around part of the lake, and we're back into the 52-degree darkness.
I think the coolest thing is when you have kids at the dock they look in the dark hole and they're like, no way. But then by the end of it, they're like, Matt, let's go back in. It's for all ages. Everyone can enjoy it, not just an older generation or a younger generation.
And the cave really is amazing. If you've never been here, stop by, bring the family. You will not be disappointed. You can spend a full day here. Now joining us is Terry Sludden, who is the marketing director, but you do so much more here. It is amazing how much this has grown. Of course, the title is Penn's Cave, but you have so much more here.
We do. Penn's Cave and Wildlife Park is what we've tried to rebrand, but most importantly, we are still a working farm operation and have been since the 1800s. So we grow the crops that we feed our animals, and some of those animals we serve in the Cave Cafe, others help to feed our predators. So it's really kind of circle of life here.
Now you do have wolves and a lot of wildlife in the wildlife park, but tell us your story about the wolves.
My personal favorite, actually. I love all the animals, but I especially love the wolves. Our wolves came from Rapid City, South Dakota, and we got them when they were only 3.5 weeks old, so they were just little puppies. And they looked like puppies, but we had to bottle feed them because they were still that young. But that's all part of the bonding process, so that they are accustomed to being handled by and cared for humans. So traveling back from Rapid City, and I was very honored to be one of the team members to do this, every 2 hours we had to bottle feed them. So, you know, it was fun, but in really less than a week, Jen, they started acting more like wolves than they do dogs. I mean, a lot of similarities, and I know you're going to be showing some great footage, but because our wolves were raised by humans, they do see humans as the alpha, but we always respect the fact that instinctively they are wild animals, so we never take any chances with any of them.
And another big attraction here, mountain lion?
Yes. Yes, the mountain lion is the Penn's Cave icon. That was the very first animal that we had when we launched the wildlife park. So actually I have two of them, a brother and sister, Seneca and Apache. We got those in Oregon, and they were about 8.5, 9 weeks old. We flew back with them, and I'm sure you can imagine, because you're very familiar with the Penn State Nittany Lions and how very devoted the fans are. So when we landed at University Park Airport, the pilot announced that there were baby Nittany Lions on board. Yes, and they were so cute. And when they're young, when they're cubs, they have spots and blue eyes about the color of your shirt. They're just beautiful. But now, of course, they're fully grown, and they have their own 4,000 square foot exhibit area in the wildlife park.
And you can't miss the sunflower fields coming in either. What's the significance of those?
Well, that's a farm crop. We actually grow those for the seeds. They'll be harvested. Now, it takes several months. They have to dry, and there's a certain percentage of humidity or moisture content before they're harvested. So those will be sold to the local feed mill. We'll buy them back. We'll use them. We'll grind them in the feed, use them to feed our bison. They're high in protein. But people come just to take pictures of the sunflower field. Yeah, we have about 16 acres planted.
Wow. How big is this? You have 16 acres. How big is all this?
1,600 acres in the entire property area. Yeah. Now, most of it has been preserved. It's, of course, the natural habitat. We also have off-road trails because we do have a special, by reservation only, off-road tour. But during the Farm Nature and Wildlife Tour, the guides, who are extremely knowledgeable, incorporate the information about the operation.
Wow. Wow, 1,600
So we got to get a bison burger before we leave, I understand.
Actually, one of the crew had one earlier for lunch, yes. Yeah. Very lean meat, very healthy. Even people on restricted diets are able to eat bison. It's probably one of the leanest red meats.
Well, such an undertaking here. It's a beautiful facility and a great attraction for Center Hall and the Center County area. Thank you so much, Terry.
It's an honor to have all of you here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome. That's Terry Sludden, the marketing director here at Penn's Cave, just among the many hardworking staff here. Your town center.
day. We are coming to you live from Center Hall for this week's edition of Your Town, and we are live outside the entrance of Penn's Cave and the Wildlife Park. And you know, Gary, when we talk about Center Hall, one of the first things you think about is the Grange Fair.
The Grange Fair, and of course you think about all the campers and all the RVs, more than 1,000 tents, more than 1,300 RVs. Every year, in fact, this year's edition about ready to get started next week. Every year, people coming together to form a small city in this small Center County community.
It all begins in 1874. A local farmer and activist, Leonard Roan, decides he'll begin a local chapter of the National Patrons of Husbandry. That's a fraternal organization that advocates for farmers, rural families, and general interests.
He started our Grange, Progress Grange, here in Center Hall. Once it was organized, he went on to found 6 other Granges. And then in September of 1874, he said at a Progress Grange meeting, let us join with our sister Granges and have a picnic to let our neighbors know about our new organization.
And with that, the first Center County Grange encampment and fair began, September 24th, 1874. Back in those days, people traveled using horses, and since horses don't have headlights, it was difficult to get home at night. That's how the camping part got its start. Moving into the 21st century, old-style canvas tents are still a staple here, but so are camping trailers and RVs. What was once a one-day picnic is now a 2-week-long fair.
Many, many families have come here. Those tents are passed down from generation to generation through direct descendants, and now we've got all those campers here.
And consider this, in 2015, the United States Census Bureau estimated that Center Hall's population is about 1,200 full-time residents. Except for Grange Fair Week, that number explodes to include more than 2,500 families who are camping, not to mention the thousands of people who come to visit the fair.
The waiting list is over 25 years or more, so it's a long time to even, get a tent. So a lot of these kids that want a tent better put their names on now, because it's going to be their lifetime till they are able to get a tent.
Now we have over 300 concessionaires at Grange Fair. You can still go there to buy a tractor. You can still go there to buy farm equipment. But we also have chicken on a stick, snow cones, pierogies, all sorts of things that they didn't have on top of the mountain in 1887.
There is a lot to see and do at the Grange Fair, including all the food and agriculture. Entertainment is also featured here.
We have top name entertainment coming in this year, like Jana Kramer and William Michael Morgan and Ray Lynn and others, That's a lot of bang for your buck, where you're not paying $30, $40 for a ticket to the grandstand. Plus we have free acts at the Jubilee Grove up here by headquarters. We also have free acts over to Southside Stage. Plus all the truck and tractor pulls are free once you get into the fairgrounds.
The Grange Fair property isn't just used once a year for the fair in August. Horse and dog shows happen here, along with family reunions and the Pennsylvania Organic Farm Fest. The fair president says there's always something going on for everyone.
And you heard him talking about the waiting list for those tents, 25 years or more. Consider this, here in Center County, couples have gotten divorced. They have the Grange Fair tent. They've worked out all the issues they need to split, even child custody, except the couples getting divorced can't figure out who gets the tent. They've had to file cases here in Center County Court where a judge has had to decide who gets the tent for future use. Grange Fair, this year's edition, getting cranked up within the next week. And of course, there is more information about the Grange Fair on their website.
Okay, well, here's a little bit of odd history of Center Hall. When you think about central Pennsylvania, you probably really don't think about earthquakes, but that is exactly what happened here way back in August 15th, 1991. A relatively minor earthquake shook this town. A professor we talked with at Penn State says happened about 3:16 in the morning, about 2 or 3 miles outside of town. The fault, though, has never been pinpointed, but when the earthquake happened, it felt like people could feel it over about a 115 square mile area from Boalsburg to Madisonburg.
The 1991 earthquake produced light and in places some moderate shaking, which would have knocked over unstable things. It would have rattled the windows. It would have awoken most of the people in Center Hall. It was strong enough for people to recognize something's going on here.
Okay. Now, according to seismologists, the earthquake measured about 3.0 on the Richter scale. A newspaper article from 1991 says no damage or injuries were reported. Professor Amen says earthquakes in our area aren't really that unusual. They aren't unprecedented, saying a small quake like the one that happened in 1991 could potentially happen again. Still to come, agriculture, a mainstay here in Center Hall. You can't drive through this area without seeing horses on farm after farm after farm, and we're going to take you to a local horse farm right after the break. Back live in Center Hall for this week's edition of Your Town. And in so many of the communities that we visit during this series, there has always been wonderful organizations that really help out their community, and Center Hall is no different. One of those organizations here in town is the Center Hall Women's Club. Women's clubs began in the United States in the 1860s, and the one in Center Hall got its start in April of 1938. It's continued ever since. The group of women get together to do civic projects for the community, and it all started with a simple pair of eyeglasses.
A young boy had problems with his eyes. He needed glasses, and it was a poor family, and they couldn't afford to get him glasses, so that was one of the first things that they went and bought glasses for this young boy.
Today, the club is behind the Welcome to Center Hall banners that are seen throughout town. They also sponsor 5 different scholarships for high school students each year, and the group raises the money in order to complete these projects. They're known for Election Day bake sales and even bingo. Gary?
Here in Penns Valley, some of the state's richest agricultural land, but it's not all about crops. Our next stop, our next story goes to a horse farm, and it is a well-known horse farm, an award-winning horse farm. We recently visited Penns Woods Percherons.
If you're going to do it right, we take care of them before we take care of ourselves. You know, they get fed before we get fed. They get in your blood, and it's a full-time job and then some. Yeah.
Rhonda Cole and her husband Chad own the Penns Woods Percherons Farm. It was established in the early 1960s by Chad's father, just outside of Center Hall. The farm is home to about 80 Percheron horses and is one of the top breeding programs in the world.
They're a breed of heavy horse, draft horse. The Clydesdales, everybody knows the Clydesdales. They're very popular, and the Percherons are from the same draft horse family, but they originated in La Perche, France. So that's where the Percheron name came from.
Cole says the Percherons are a lot like Clydesdale horses in a lot of ways, except they don't have the excess feathering near their hooves.
Like our adults are anywhere from 1,800 to, we have some that are 2,400 pounds. So, and stand up to close to 19 hands, some of them.
But what do the Coles do with the animals?
We raise them and train them to be competitive hitch horses. We hitch them from a cart right up to a 6 or 8 horse hitch. At
the farm in Center Hall, these horses live the life, making sure their shoes fit right, getting their hair brushed, and keeping those pesky horse flies away. Cole says they've sold horses to owners around the world. And as far as accolades go, Cole says a number of their horses are world champions.
And Jen, those horses are amazing. If you never, they are really amazing. It's also amazing how many awards, how many championships they have won around the world.
And the video really doesn't even do them justice. You have to see them in person.
Right.
Well, we're going to be talking about the weather now. There was some talk earlier in the week that we might have rain during this broadcast, but as you can see, Josh, no rain here in Center Hall.
We're holding out for you tonight, Jen and Gary. We're trying to keep it dry for you. Other areas may not be quite as fortunate, but yes, it looks like some scattered showers and rumbles of thunder on the way for tonight and also maybe early Saturday. Here's our Futurecast image. We've got it dialed up for you now and ready to go as we stroll through the end of our weekend into the upcoming weekend. And at this point in the going, we are looking at some clouds overnight tonight and also some scattered showers into early tomorrow. So watch the progression here in a Futurecast, maybe upwards of Well, 8 to 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, the front is sliding eastward. By lunchtime, the threat for showers on south and east of the Turnpike. And then it looks like into Saturday afternoon and Sunday, a little more clear sky coming up. All right, forecast goes like this for the weekend. We'll call for temperatures in the low 80s tomorrow. Northwest breezes set up in the afternoon and some drier air moves in. It'll be quite refreshing Saturday night and Sunday night with lows in the upper 50s. Monday, Tuesday, and even Wednesday looking good with highs in the low to mid 80s and sunny skies.
Welcome back to your town Center Hall here in the Center Hall area. A lot of scenery, a lot of mountains. Our next stop takes us to a venue with a view. Let's get to the video so we can show you what we're talking about. High atop Mount Nittany is a building formerly known as the Mount Nittany Inn. It's an establishment that's been in business nearly for 100 years now and is still going strong now in 2016. If you're familiar with the State College area, you know the Harrison's Catering folks, Wine Grill and Catering. And now the new business is simply called Above the Valley Special Events Center.
We're an event center, so we can do a wedding, any kind of party. So we have 3 different levels, so it's whatever the needs of the event we can handle here. So that's the goal.
That's the folks at Harrison's, now operating what used to be the Mount Nittany Inn, now call it the Special Events Center. Harrison's also has another catering location on College Avenue in State College.
We also want to mention a restaurant that back in the day was really busy at the time too. It's now known as the Whistle Stop Restaurant. It was originally constructed as a train station, and it opened in January of 1885 for passengers and for freight. It was part of the Lewisburg and Tyrone Railroad, which became the Pennsylvania Railroad and was later bought by the Penn Central Railroad. Passenger service ended in the 1950s and freight trains ceased in 1972. The building reopened as a craft shop after the trains ended, and then in 1991, the Whistle Stop was established. Reservations are accepted, and by the way, Center Hall is a dry town. Those towns do exist, which means the Whistle Stop has special policies for beer and for wine.
Very good. This has been fun, isn't it?
Yeah, it has been.
This is your town Center Hall. We've been all over the area, up the mountain, here at Penn's Cave, and showed you the Percherons, the horses, and a lot to see and do here in this area.
But it's not over yet. We've still got 2 more weeks to go left in the series. Now, next week, we're going to be making the trip to Portage in Cambria County, and you'll definitely want to make your way out for Portage. The Summer Fest will be going on, that festival happening there while we are doing our broadcast. It's Friday, August 12th, starting at 5:30.
All right. Thanks for joining us.